Look at the lives of other women who have done mathematics, who have achieved in mathematics. Look at the lives, read about the other women. And that's really what inspires us in many ways. When we look at what other people have done, that's inspiration. If we feel lacking in some way and want to do something, we look at history. Well, this person was able to achieve that. I can do it too.
I want to congratulate AWM on its 50th anniversary. Of course, Mary Gray is the mother of us all. I think without Mary, and I think everybody would say this, there would be no AWM. Mary's courage and her insights and her political skills really started everything.
In meetings of the American Mathematical Society, that there would be a few women there, but none of the major speakers and none of the major officers of the organization were women. And the question was, why not? The number of women getting PhDs in math wasn't very high, but it was higher than the representation, as I say, in the hierarchies. So I decided to go to a meeting of the Council of the American Mathematical Society to ask what's going on, who makes these decisions, who decides who gets to be the keynote speaker, decides who gets to be the president, et cetera, et cetera. But when I arrived at the council meeting, I was told that the council meeting was closed. Well, even before I was a lawyer, I had looked into things like this, and the bylaws for the American Mathematical Society said that the council meetings were open. So I said to the president of the American Mathematical Society, it says that the meetings are open and doesn't say that they're closed. And he said, oh, it's gentlemen's agreement that we're closed. So I said, I'm not a gentleman, sat down, stayed, decided, yep, I was right. We needed to form our own organization. I organized AWM on my card table in our spare bedroom, writing letters to a lot of people. I think we charged something like maybe $5 or something for people to join. Maybe $10 if you were a senior mathematician, and it got to be more and more people.
The first time I heard about AWM was in the notices of the AMS, American Math Society, in February of '71. There was a little notice saying that there was this new organization of the Association of Women in Mathematics, and that they were going to have some meetings. At that point, I was still on a lecturer at Berkeley. I was on the faculty at Berkeley in the math department. And quite frankly, where I was coming from, I was not interested in associating with women in mathematics. I viewed myself as a mathematician, and I was very dubious of this. I was very naive, and that actually protects you for a long time because you don't take things personally. Kathleen Morowitz was head of the Courant Institute in NYU. She was a very prominent mathematician. She was at this meeting of the American Math Society, maybe the council. She was disappointed not to see very many women around. And Sonia McLean, who I think was president of the AMS at that moment, said, well, don't you know, mathematics is a very hard subject. So what I came to understand was that women's work was not taken seriously. You didn't have the advantages implicitly that every single male mathematician had of social networks, professional networks, mentors, connections, all of that. You were cut out from some of the most important things to advance yourself professionally.
The original goals were largely twofold. Just to get women in major roles on programs so that the chairs of the committees would be women, the major keynote speakers would be women, and eventually the women would be president. But we always have been, try to be an inclusive organization so women mathematicians feel they have someplace to go. When I got a PhD in math, only 6% of the PhDs in math went to women. It's now in the upper 20s, so we've improved. We're not equal. We don't necessarily need to move for equality, but we do need to move for more diversity among the women that we have.
The number of PhDs in math earned by women have been increasing. So from about 1999 to 2018, about 30% of those degrees were earned by women. So from 1992 to 2018, the percentage of female full-time faculty members in math departments has doubled. So it's gone from about 13.5% to 28% in 2018.
I think the culture of mathematics is a little bit of a secret society, and so understanding how to step into it, you sort of need someone inviting you all the way and sort of giving you the sort of secret pocket doors and stuff like that.
The female professors of mathematics that I had really stuck in my mind because I could identify with them. And I think that they played a really important role, and I mean, even to this day, continue to play an important role in my career and in my life and in my decisions about the type of work that I do, the type of organizations that I join.
It's taken us a while to get here, but in recent years, 2 women have been awarded the highest honors in mathematics. In 2014, the late Miriam Mirzakhani was the first woman to receive the Fields Medal, and in 2019, Kieran Uhlenbeck was the first woman to receive the Abel Prize.
But, it's still times of first. This is in, we're 2021, and we're still in 50 years after we started, and there's still so many firsts. We shouldn't be at the first and then stop. First, maybe the second. Takes a while for the second and third even to come in. And that, for me, is kind of disturbing.
There's still a challenge for women and students from underrepresented groups going into graduate school. One of the greatest challenges that they face is not how much mathematics they know, but how well they can integrate themselves into the community that they find there.
Certain underserved students are not appropriately prepared for the rigors of college. So then you need to prepare them. If you want more of a certain, demographic of students, then you need to figure out what they need so that they can complete the work in your program.
When you're engaging in mathematics and learning mathematics, there's not a lot of immediate gratification when you're doing hard problems and stuff. So what success looks like is not familiar.
I personally believe that increasing the number of women and minorities in mathematics starts at the ground level. When you see a student in your calculus course who's promising, they may have never been told before that they were good at math. You as the professor need to be the one to tell them, encourage them. I think it starts by planting those seeds at a very early stage.
We also need to change the cultures within these institutions that are hoping to increase their numbers, because there's a reason why numbers are so low. And I think we often put all the blame on the student that isn't there, rather than on the institution that is essentially keeping them out and that isn't being welcoming to that student.
The AWM Mentor Network is really one of the most successful outreach programs that we have. So just last year, we matched about 120 mentees with different mentors around the country. So the Mentor Network was started by Rachel Kuska in the early 2000s. And since that time, we've matched hundreds and hundreds of mentees with mentors, and we've had a lot of success with the program. 2 pi root sigma e to the negative 1/2 x minus mu over sigma squared. Okay. I really felt that it was important for me to do this work because I might be setting the standard or being a role model for other women of color, other Black women in particular, who needed someone to look up to in mathematical organizations.
I would like to see more people willing to devote time to going out and working with the girls or with the women in high school, because that's a time when it's difficult for a lot of girls. Well, I think trying to get groups of girls together are helpful, so the girls at the age of middle school and first years in high school don't feel that they're alone and don't feel that they're different. So whether it's Association for Women in Math Saturday conferences or whether it's a local coding group. There's a group called Girls Who Code. Different ways that they can get together and see that they're not all alone.
I started my Sonia Kovalevsky High School Mathematics Days. So this was a program born out of the Association for Women in Mathematics. And it's essentially outreach to encourage young women in middle school and in high school to pursue careers in mathematics. And I started my very first Sonia Kovalevsky Day when I was still a grad student, but I brought it with me to Arizona State University. So I've been doing these SK Days, goodness, for like 13, 14 years now. And I still continue to do Sonia Kovalevsky Days now that I'm at Sonoma State University. It's beautiful because you're bringing in the outside community, but I feel like it also solidifies the community within your own institution and solidifies that institution's commitment to women pursuing degrees in mathematics.
There's a ripe opportunity for the AWM to participate in some of the festivals that sort of gather the attention of the K-12 teachers and students. So the Julia Robinson Festival would be a good example, or the National Math Festival. These are just opportunities for AWM to really capture that crowd of K-12 teachers and students.
AWM has mobilized women mathematicians and given them more visibility, more opportunities to be heard.
I participated in one of their programs. The AWM runs this Women in Math Biology. Well, they do women in all of the fields, but Women in Math Biology is my personal subset, and that's how I got connected with this group of collaborators that I continue to work with, all female math biologists. And that was also a very beautiful experience to be in a research group that's all women. But so I've had these really wonderful experiences that were specifically facilitated by the Association for Women in Mathematics.
But what has really changed is who's heading these. So there are women who are presidents of the AMS, women who's president of the MAA, women who's president of NAM, women presidents of every single math association. It's amazing.
What I would like to see is AWM expand and embrace the intersectionality concept. Sometimes we can get caught up in advocating for women and sometimes lose sight that women come from different cultures, different races, different ethnicities. What does each need and to feel welcomed in an all-female space? Sometimes we can assume that if we have an all-female space, then all females feel welcome, which is not the case. So as a woman of color, I think I'll bring a new perspective. I'll be the first Black female president-elect of AWM, which will probably challenge AWM in new ways. I think through that we can broaden our reach and broaden our impact for all women.